Mortgages charge interest on a semi-annual basis, but payments are usually made monthly. Change a mortgage rate of J2 equals 7% to a rate compounded monthly. We're going to come back to this again when we start talking about mortgages. This is one of the big differences between banking in Canada and banking in the United States. Canadian banks compound mortgages semi-annually. They don't really, though. They actually advertise semi-annual rates, but compound usually using an equivalent rate every time you make a payment. That's as opposed to American banks that report with monthly rates. That's how they advertise. This wasn't always true. Once upon a time, before computers were widespread, it was actually compounded every 6 months. So every payment you made before 6 months, no interest was accruing. They all went towards principal, which was a different type of mortgage, and you would end up paying for a different amount of time and paying less interest. Things are different now that computers make this very simple. So if you pay monthly, they use an equivalent monthly rate. If you pay bi-weekly, and we're going to come to this again more when we get to mortgages, but bi-weekly is the way a lot of people are paid, and that means you're paid 26 times a year. Then they're going to use the equivalent J26. Often people do this because it works out with your payment scheme if you are paid that way. Okay, so what we're going to do is find the monthly rate. And again, we did this in the last one. J2 goes to J1, goes to J12. We're always going through that effective rate. So let's start with J2 equals 7%. And I'm going to use the calculator. So we go to second, interest conversion. Our nominal rate is 7. My effective rate is what I'm looking for. Right now I have 2. Go back to the effective rate and it's 7.1225. I'm not getting rid of any of those decimal places for now. Now I'm going to change CY to 12 and compute the nominal rate, which is around 6.9. There we go. Okay, but let's do it a different way. And I'm going to say this is a check because I started at the beginning and said, if I start with $100, how much do I have at the end? So I'm going to start with $100 and I'm going to invest it at 7%. Dividing 7 and 2 gives me 3.5. So I do that and I end up with $107.12. Let's do that with the effective rate in the middle here. 101.071125 to the 1 is, when I round it, 107.12. Same thing. And finally, let's do the last one. I start with $100. 1 point. I'm going to put that entire thing in here. Over 12, I'm going to say 1 plus that to the power of 12. Okay, I'm going to use the calculator for this because I don't want to round it at all. So I'm going to clear, and clearing lets me save that number. I'm going to divide it by 100 first to make it a percent. Then I'm going to divide it by 12. And I'm going to add that to 1. Now I'm going to take that to the power of 12 and multiply it by $100. And I get the same thing, $107.12, or 12.25. They're all the same. Not only are they all the same, when I did the rounding there, notice that I had these. This is 7.1225. The amount of interest I get is the effective rate. The effective rate is exactly the interest you get on $100. If you don't want to divide by 100, do it on $1. That will give you 7.1225 cents. But it's easy enough to see it in percent. Let's do one more. Your credit card charges interest at 1.5% per month. Find the effective rate. Credit cards. One thing to remember is unless you're told differently, all credit cards are monthly. This is a piece of what we call domain knowledge. It's knowledge that you really should have. A question will not necessarily tell you that credit cards are monthly, so that's something you need to know. Let's find the effective rate. So first,
I can learn
per. That means periodic rate. Anytime you see that word per month, you know that that's the periodic rate, at or per. So that's the periodic rate. So I equals 0.015. That means that J12 equals 0.015 times 12, or 18%. That's a lot. That's more than 1.5. It looks small when you say it monthly, but you do have to end up multiplying that. So let's see how much we have after 1 year. And this is the same thing that we've been doing. We start with $100 and we put it at, well, we know that it's 0.15 to the power of 12. So 100 times 1.015 to the power of 12. And that is going to give me $119.56. So the effective rate, or J1, it's 19.56%. And you can check this using the interest conversion worksheet.